I want to direct you to a blog post that I posted in the description. The title is New Movie Pompeii, Volcanic Erupts in Indonesia. I want to talk about solar astrology, solar flares, effects on humans, what is real energy, and two other areas regarding planetary alignments that's coming up on February 22nd to 23rd in connection with this Viking Apocalypse Festival. Again, this is Karis Alexander with Deep Truth Media. I want to thank all of you who are continuing on this journey with me because it truly is a glorious time. It's astounding. It kind of makes me want to screech. You know how like when a little baby goes like just wholly screeches because out of excitement. That's how I feel. I feel so excited. I want to also introduce you to my environment, and here's a picture of snowy weather in my neck of the woods. This is a picture that I see every day from my window of the landscape during winter, that is. But it's still snowing here, so we are in the midst of this Arctic wave that's flowing through the polar vortex. I'm going to be talking more about vortexes soon, but I have a very long post for you today. So we're gonna take things up a little bit. We're gonna just push the envelope because we can do that now. We can do that. We can create on a whole nother level. If you haven't noticed, you notice how there's kind of like there's this dismantling happening within yourself, this inner dismantling of this matrix system. And it will manifest for each and every one of us in different ways. But I'm really able to tune into this matrix that I have been born into. And you can look to your astrology chart. If you haven't looked at that, there are lots of free astrological softwares online. And if you know how to look at your chart, I really encourage you to start doing that and coming to know your astrological blueprint, because that astrological blueprint is the software program that you're operating under. That is, your essence is captured in your astrological blueprint, and you are living out your astrological blueprint in this physical dimension. Most people don't want to look at their astrological blueprint and that says something in itself, because there's a lot that is revealed to oneself as awareness. And because most people are living through their ego consciousness, the vibration of a astrological blueprint is too high. And so most people will shy away from looking at their astrological blueprint because it creates a lot of distortion, right? A lot of resistance within you. So if you have resistance around looking at your astrological blueprint and understanding how you are wired and how this system is manipulating your essence as awareness, that's just information for you. And so that's one way in which you can do that inner excavation work, because when you know your astrological blueprint and you understand how you are wired to operate within this third dimensional construct, then you can understand at a deeper level how this dismantling, how you as awareness are coming to know the truth of this system that is imposed, is an imposition on you. So it truly is a glorious time to be here. It truly is a glorious time to be alive. And so I know for myself, is that when I'm able to stare down this construct, this cell, this matrix that is resides on my physical being, and I can stare it down, what I am doing is I am dismantling the matrix. right? Continuously, I'm excavating, I'm dismantling this matrix off of me so that as awareness, I can experience more in this physical world. I'm traversing worlds right now, right? I'm traversing as awareness. I exist outside of this universe, this galaxy, this solar system, this earth. And I am just experience self as awareness, and then I come in and I engage the world. So it's this dance that I'm learning to do. I'm learning to dance within this dimension and retreat back out into as awareness and understand the deeper gnosis and knowledge that I am coming into. And realizing that when I am immersed in third dimensional construct or reality or illusion, that the information that comes in through this system creates a tremendous amount of doubt. And that when I step out of this system and I just rest as awareness, I know all things. I am wise and all-knowing. I'm just resting in a constant state of paradise. And so when I say that we're going to take this up a notch, what I'm saying is we are going to learn how to manipulate this energy that is bathing this planet, because that's the opportunity now to manipulate this real energy, this creative force. Because you are not energy. You are beyond energy, any concept of energy. We're going to look at energy, real energy, from the perspective as a verb, that we can do something with this energy as awareness. We can manipulate this energy to our own choosing and our own making and create the reality of our own choosing as we still exist within this dimension. So this will probably be very long sharing, but only because I want you to understand where I'm coming from. Because I'm just pushing the envelope, because as awareness, I'm coming into more knowledge and more gnosis, and so I want to share that with you. It's an experiment. Remember, the power control force, those that presume to run this world, have no idea. Or they have some idea, because they're probably able to see into the future timeline. But they really don't have an idea of how this is all going to pan out on the physical world stage. It's never been done before. This is the first time in human history. It's a finite system. So remember, this system was built for the purposes of being destroyed. Again, the physical world was built for the purposes of being destroyed. It was never built to sustain itself. It can't. It's a finite system. So the power control force, the universal archetypes or architects, do everything that they can in order to sustain this reality or this illusion of a reality. This dream is their dream, right? So life is an energy process. And like every energy process, it is in principle irreversible and therefore directed to a goal. And that goal is to reach a state of rest. That's your original state. That's the ultimate goal, is just to rest as awareness in your original state. So in the long run, everything that happens in life is, as it were, no more than the initial disturbance of a perpetual state of rest. Yes, you've been captured, which would forever attempts to re-establish itself. You are constantly trying to re-establish yourself and just simply rest as awareness. Life is an intrinsic striving towards a goal, and the living organism is a system of directed aims which seek to fulfill itself. Attainment of high hopes and distant goals are life urges. Yes, which somehow change into fear of life. because we live in a system which feeds off of fear, which causes neurotic behavior, resistance, depression, phobias. Attainment of high hopes and distant goals are life urges which somehow change into fear of life, which causes neurotic behavior, resistance, depression, and phobias if at some point one remains caught in the past or shies away from risk, without which the unseen goal can't be obtained. Yes, it's constant striving and trying to fit into the system and clinging to the system. Do you notice how things are intensifying right now, either in your own life or in the lives of those around you? People are self-destructing. You may be self-destructing, but people don't seem to understand why they are self-destructing, and I'm going to share why that's happening. A lot of people believe that because of the external reflective, what's happening for them on the external reflective is the cause of their dismantling. No, remember, it's all by design. The power control force are stimulating a natural organic process of the dismantling of your own individual and collective metamorphosis, so that you can come to know self as awareness. But they're going to keep all of this information from you about what's happening with our sun, and that the sun is actually creating the opportunity for you to experience more of yourself. This sun, or God, is a key proponent of causing the distortion and destruction that you are experiencing. It's only one cause. It's the main cause, but it's only one. So the culprit underlying all things, or one of them, is that we live submerged in a sea of unworthiness. But it's not our unworthiness. It is an imposition we have taken on by the universal architects. It is their unworthiness program that we have inherited, because as awareness, which you are, does not know or experience any such program of unworthiness. And you are coming to know the truth of this through your direct experience in this dismantling of all imposed programming in the now moment, as you experience the solar revolution at play, which I'm going to speak of. So yes, when we can stare down this unconscious programming that we are operating on, because most of us just deal with our conscious experience, what we experience through the five sense personality, but there's a whole nother world that we suppress, and that is the unconscious programming. And it's individual and it's collective, and it's can be known as many things, but for simple terms, it's the shadow. And so the shadow aspects that have never been addressed within yourself are percolating to the surface and causing havoc in your lives, causing major distortions in your perception, your five sensory perception, which has been hijacked by the power control force. So this unconscious shadow aspects, and there are many, is coming to the surface. And what's precipitating that? This solar revolution that I'm going to speak about. How does this happen? How does it happen that there is a solar revolution? Now, based on my own personal experience and my research in astrology, it is my understanding that we exist within a simulated software program designed by the universal architects, with our solar system acting at the center of our individual and collective programming, with the sun being the focal point, providing us with upgrades to our RAM. You know what RAM is, or memory. I believe that information and energy from the sun is at the core of who and what we are in this simulated reality. And I'm going to put another link to an article that was done where I was interviewed Solar Flares and Consciousness by Kindred Spirit, a UK alternative publication. I'll post a link to that where I was interviewed about my experiences with solar activity in this description of this. And you can read that at your leisure if you haven't already, because I've shared on many occasions about that article. So again, I believe that information and energy from the sun is at the core of who and what we are in this simulated reality, and that as awareness, we are simply captured in this existence through the brain-body construct, which is simply a thin layer, although we put so much importance of it, thin layer of which we use the body, we use to have this life experience. And that any direct sudden solar outburst updates and precipitates inner change in each of us. And this changes not only the inner landscape and mental environment, but the truth is the sun actually changes the self of who you think you are. Now, how does this happen? It happens through direct solar events like solar flares and CMEs, coronal mass ejections. It is these astronomical events which are precipitated by planetary alignments with the active sun that produces the closest and strongest astronomical events. When the sun communicates in highly energetic waves of real energy through solar flares and CME discharges, we on Earth get it in spades. What usually comes in just a trickle. If it is these intense bursts of solar information that inform us in quantum leaps rather than gradually, that makes these solar events so important. I know of no other astrological indicator that is consistently as direct and potent in supporting the evolution of human consciousness and the mutation of all species on this planet. I'm just explaining to you a higher level on which the power control force are operating, the universal architects are operating on. They do not want you to know this information. And so yet all astrologers, many, not all of them, many astrologers as a group have not incorporated intense solar activity into their practice and interpreted it, but have gone along with the materialistic science in considering solar flux as just another physical phenomena. As you will know, there are a number of people online who are sharing information about planetary alignments and their effects on the physical Earth plane with regards to earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and climatic catastrophe kind of events. But I'm taking it to a whole nother level here and explaining how solar activity is in fact causing this mutation of our species. And so that's the level on which, and I want to take it, and in terms of planetary alignments, and also looking at these planetary alignments in conjunction with how the power control force facilitates their narratives and scripts on the physical world stage during these auspicious times of energy or higher intelligence bathing this planet. So information is communicated through the sun. And intense solar outbursts communicate intensely. My interest since 2006 has always been to learn how to absorb and integrate this intense solar information, because it started happening to me in 2006, and that's when I started researching. So I wanted to research and learn how to integrate this intense solar information and monitor its effects on me, not in the physical world around me, but inside. I first had to come to terms that the sun was actually affecting me internally, and that can be a lot or too much to swallow all at once, and it takes time to absorb that there is some kind of outside phenomena that is affecting me. And this is the nature of solar flares and their offspring, the violent CME events. Of course, there are many causes of change, but over the years, I have found that monitoring solar flares is one way to anticipate my inner changes so that I have a chance to take advantage of the energies and integrate these energies or these energetic upgrades. Yes, because when I know or understand at a deeper level the energies that are coming onto the planet, I'm not going to be reacting in my life to people around me. I can do that inner excavation work, take responsibility for the distortions or the feelings that I'm having, because it's highly emotional right now. Again, people are self-destructing. They have no idea why. This is why they're self-destructing, because they don't know how to deal with all these energies that are bathing the planet. Now, the power control force, those that presume to run this world, are using astrology in order to manipulate. That's the artificial simulation. They're using the astrological science in order to manipulate events on the physical world stage to coincide with the events that are happening in the solar system, in the galaxy, this organic process, and so that they can wield a different outcome on the physical stage. And so most astrologers have no idea how our reality is being manipulated through these narratives. And so when they explain that, certain so-and-so planets, all these planets have character traits, and with these alignments that are happening, these aspects that happen with planets, they're like the characters. And when they happen with it, when these characters, these planets, show up in certain signs and houses, the houses are the sets. And the signs are the sets, the stage sets for the characters, the planets, to have their story played out. And the houses are the fields of experience. And so when astrologers look at the planets, and they know what the planets all mean, they can relate those planetary events to what happens on the physical world stage, and they can affirm for themselves that as above, so below. But they do not know that the power control force are manipulating those events on the physical world stage. So they think that everything is hunky-dory, that it's supposed to be happening, and look what's happening. It's all in divine order. No, it's not. It's all in the manipulation. So astrologers think that what's happening in the solar system, and they're getting confirmation on the physical world stage of what's happening, just as most Bible prophecy kind of events that are taking place. They're all like saying, well, it's supposed to happen, and they acquiesce, and they believe that it's all by design. It's not. It's a manipulation. It's a manipulation of your experience here. Oh, it's just mind-blowing to see all this stuff. If they only knew what was really going on. Now, if the information as to how we change somehow comes from a higher order structures like the Earth, the Sun, and the galaxy, etc., and if solar flare events result in change at the quantum level, like leaps forward instead of gradual change, then it makes sense for us to begin to develop an awareness of such sudden changes, right? When they occur, and learn how to best make use of these changes. And the power control force are not going to tell you this information because they don't want you to know this. They don't want you to be empowered. So when sudden solar influx changes impacts us, it can be disturbing, and we may not know what to make of it. In our attempt to assimilate the change overload, certain anomalies may appear that disturb the pretty picture of a self we have going, and subject us to still further confusion. In other words, aside from bringing creativity, which these solar flares and CME events can do, they can be disturbing times, often filled with confusion, wonder, disorientation, indecisiveness, feelings of like floating, not grounded on the earth, loss of time. Many people are feeling like There's no sense of time, unable to make decisions, headaches, insomnia, heart palpitations. Remember that solar information and other anomalies that are happening for people. They're getting sick. Remember that solar information contains instructions for change, including some form of local cybernetic input that regulates our life. When we get a mass of change all at once, we can have trouble taking it in one gulp and adjusting to it. And so the power control force keep this information from you and distract you with all this other crap that's happening on the physical world stage. They don't want you to know that you're going through a mutation. They don't want you to know that you have the capacity to dismantle this system because you are imprisoned in this system. You are captured. They don't want you to know that you are captured within this system. Therefore, as an experiment, what I'm proposing is that we take a look at the next planetary and solar activity watch and monitor the energy flux inner and outer and outside your surrounding environment within the 3 to 6 days after the solar flares. And sometimes I'm noticing right now, usually it's 3 days after a solar planetary alignment or solar flare or coronal mass ejections that I start feeling these energies, but I'm noticing that that's shifting too. So it could be a day after the planetary alignments you start feeling the energies. So just be aware of any personal anomalies. Take note. Start a diary. What we are going to be doing here is learning to take notice, absorb, and learn how to work with the energies in a positive and constructive way. That's what has to happen. That's how we change our reality into the world. That's how we alter the reality and change the reality. We learn how to manipulate these gravity waves, these acoustical gravity waves, this real energy. I would like to highlight a window around a significant heliocentric planetary alignment involving the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars along the Earth equinoctial angle, and that is February 22nd to 23rd, 2014. Remember, February 23rd being the last day of the Sochi Olympics. And I also want you to look at or be aware of two coinciding events outside of the closing ceremonies. You want to keep abreast of that, but there's no coincidence that this February 23rd being the last day of the Sochi Olympics. But here are two other events that I want you to focus on too, or just watch out for on the physical world stage. And these are just markers, cues, keep humanity distracted, and there are some clues for what is to come on the physical world stage. Remember, as above, so below. This is going to be a huge year in the United States. This is a huge year astrologically. It's one of the biggest years astrologically. It's so this is a real ramp up of events, but I'm just going to show you how this is playing out and some of the things that I've found. Currently, ominously, it will also coincide with this planetary alignment that I'm focusing on February 22nd to 23rd, will coincide with a proposed date of the Viking Norse Doomsday Ragnarok festival, which you can read about, which I find quite interesting. This Viking apocalypse. Now it's just a myth, okay? But this is a festival based on a myth. So there's 1 week left because it happens on February 22nd when this planetary alignment is happening, before the Viking apocalypse is upon us, at which point the 9 worlds of the cosmos will be destroyed in a cataclysmic event. Now the 9 worlds of the cosmos are referring to the planets. That's what it's referring to. Ragnarok, or the end of the world, will begin when the wolf, son of Loki, breaks out of his prison. This is part of the Norse mythology. A chain reaction will then take place with this snake, Jormungand, can't even say that, rising from the sea, and the wolf devouring the sun. Here we have reference to our sun. This is all about the planetary alignments. According to the Jorvik Viking Festival, which takes place in York every February, these events were prophesied by Odin, who had hung himself from the world tree for 9 days so he could die and be reborn with wisdom and foresight. This is in reference to what's happening to you, the death and rebirth of what you're going through on the physical world stage. Here's a bit more on the myth. The wisdom acquired by Odin allowed him to see the events of Ragnarok, enabling him to plan for the end of the world, including rounding up all his Viking heroes who died in battle to Valhalla, his great hall where they would feast and wait for the end of the world and the battle to end all battles. This is more nonsense. So when the world ends, the sunbeams will turn to black and the weather will become treacherous. Well, we're already seeing that. But the sunbeams are not going to become black. It's just part of your upgrade. The sunbeams are going to become black. It's that it's going to be going into the deeper recess of this shadow, the unconscious. That's the deep black of your unconscious, and bringing forth, purging all of the shadow aspects of you so that they can be released, so that you can have a deeper, grander experience here. So when the world ends, the sunbeams will turn to black and the weather will become treacherous. That's very true. Brothers will fight and kill each other. Sisters, children will shield themselves. A wind age, a wolf age before the world goes headlong. No man will have mercy on another. This is you remember I showed you that this is what I was saying about people. So some event is going to it's going to be like a domino effect. Something is going to be triggered, and I believe sometime this year, I don't know when, that's going to create major chaos in the United States, and people are going to start fighting each other. But it's going to be happening. It's already happening all around the world. So normally the Viking festival of Jalobblot takes place on every February 22nd to mark the end of winter. However, this year it also coincides with Ragnarok. But will the world really end 1 week from today? No, it's just a precursor to future events. Some have even suggested that Ragnarok has already happened, with prophecies being fulfilled in recent world events. In Norse mythology, it says, "Boundaries that exist shall crumble." Some have interpreted this as the global rise of social media and the apparent non-existence of internet securities. Boundaries that exist shall crumble, meaning this matrix that you are immersed in is crumbling. It's an inner crumbling that's happening for many of you that are here with me sharing in this capacity. Now, I just want to tell you about this Ragnarok, and then I'm going to close out with one other item. In Norse mythology, Ragnarok is a series of future events, hear me out, including a great battle foretold to ultimately result in the death of a number of major figures, the occurrence of various natural disasters, and subsequent submersion of the world in water. And that's why I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute. Afterward, the world will resurface anew, fertile, and surviving and returning gods will meet, and the worlds will be repopulated by 2 human survivors. Ragnarok is an important event in Norse canon and has been the subject of scholarly discourse and theory. So we see this theme again playing out over and over and over again. So just stay tuned to what's happening here. But the other thing that I wanted to mention to you before I close out here, the other event, was this new movie, Pompeii. And it sounds like pie at the end. So the storyline, a slave-turned-gladiator finds himself in a race against time. Remember I was saying that people are having a sense that time, there's no sense of time? Well, this is the singularity. This is a reference to the singularity. So there's a race against time to save his true love, who has been dethroned to a corrupt Roman senator. As Mount Vivusinus erupts, it's a volcano. I couldn't say that well, so please, I apologize for not being able to say that word. Anyway, this slave-turned-gladiator must fight to save his beloved as Pompeii crumbles around him. And so the connection here is that this movie comes out on February 21st, the day before this planetary alignment. So I watched for that, but it's signaling the next phase of what we're moving into in terms of the disasters that may be taking place on the physical world stage in the Ring of Fire. Because another connection I found was that in Indonesia, there's been volcanic eruptions prompts mass evacuations, February 14th, 2014. I put a link to that there. The volcanoes in Indonesia are part of the Pacific Ring of Fire, which I have spoken about. There are 150 volcanoes in that region, which I've spoken about on many occasions. I've spoken about the Ring of Fire a lot. The Ring of Fire is, from a physical Earth perspective, the Milky Way galaxy, which is an interesting connection to my last post with the Sochi opening ceremonies, where I talked about the little girl going through Phi, the Phi umbrella or window or doorway, but more importantly, to the Dark Horse Nebulae that's in the because horses has been a big thing since the Super Bowl and Philip Seymour Hoffman's death. The Dark Horse Nebulae in the middle of the Milky Way galaxy. And so the Ring of Fire is a physical representation of the Ring of Fire. And so we'll see some events coming, cataclysmic events coming in the Ring of Fire. So the other thing I want to talk about here is it's time for us to tune into the higher order of what is taking place as we tune into what I call real energy, or hyperdimensional physics, or acoustical gravity waves. There is this phenomena, this energy that we have never experienced on this physical world space that we are immersed in now. Do you notice how I notice how when I go to sleep, it's still light out? We are entered an area in our galaxy where the energetic environment is different, and so we are experiencing a result of that difference. So real energy is not energy we think we know or understand it. This is because it operates outside our sense perception time frame. Real energy is timeless, instantaneous, and manages to perform what is impossible in our physical time gradient. Action without reaction. Action without consideration. Action without pause. Instantaneous flow or being. Real energy keeps life on Earth moving and evolving. All life comes from this energy. You exist beyond this energy as awareness. You just simply rest in a constant state of paradise. So when people say, oh, I am energy, then that's not true. You're not energy. That's a noun. You have to look at energy from the perspective of a verb. It's the active ingredient. So as awareness, the power control force have captured your essence and used the essence as awareness, the universal architects, and created this energetic environment in order to capture you. And the active or the active ingredient is the electron. The proton is the other ingredient. So it's the proton and the electron that you operate within the nucleus. And those stuff is way out there. So what is happening is we have to look at energy from the standpoint of a verb, and that is the creative principle. So your ability to create is going to be intensified. You're noticing that already. your ability to know more, or the expansiveness and understanding more deeply of who and what you are is going to intensify. And that's why I encourage people to do the inner work, because it'll allow you to absorb these energies a lot better. Otherwise, you're just going to have a really challenging time, because the power control force are not going to tell you what you need to be doing in order to harness these energies, in order to manipulate this reality in terms of creating your own dream. And that's what we're going to be doing here. So therefore, as we continue to create the reality of our own choosing through the practice of harnessing this highly intelligent catalytic energy that is coming from deep space, and remember, we remember whether we realize it or not, that we truly are the ones that we've been waiting for. So I want to leave you with that. I'll be making more posts. Thank you so much for tuning in. So watch the energies on the February 22nd to 23rd. The planetary alignment is that, and watch the energies, the inner and outer, reflective of what's going on in your life, and take note of that, and send me a message if you're noticing any changes. It truly is a glorious time to be here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you.